Alright, so I'm going to start out first with the Excel version of the kinematics because I kind of feel like I understand them better, and if I start out with these, then I can understand it better on paper. So I start out with figuring out which data points or which data is given to me, which variables are given to me, and then I plug them into all the equations that I can understand. I first plot out what time variables, and I kind of always have started out with point 1, point 2, point 3, and then kind of work from there, figuring out if I need to get smaller or bigger. And with this case, I ended up being perfect. It ended up being a small enough area to the point where it worked. and then I moved over to rate. And the equation for the rate which I used was r equals vt plus at squared, and I wanted to keep it um, in the terms of r and t, and so I plugged in the other data points that I knew. So b and a were plugged in, so the equation ended up being r equals 20t plus negative 2t squared, which you can see right here when I use the other columns in the equation using t being plugged in, and then the 20 and the negative 2, and that gave us the now two columns of time and rate being used. And then velocity is an easy one to figure out once you have both rate and time, because velocity is just rate or distance over time. So then it was just this, then it was just this column over this column. And it was pretty easy to figure out. Then moving over to the truck, time was the same thing. I started out with just 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 as my usual starting out as time. And then for the rate, truck started as something different because it started out as 60 for its rate instead of 0 like the car. And so it had to start out with I started with, instead of r equals bt plus at squared, I did 60 minus r equals bt plus at squared, so its ending equation with the other data points plugged in was 60 minus r equals 16t plus 1t squared, because its initial acceleration was 1, as you can see in this equation up here at the top. And then again with the velocity, it was just this, the rate divided by time. And then these graphs were easy to create. It was just this, and then both the car and the truck's rate to create this graph. And then again time and this velocity and the truck's velocity to create this graph. And that is how you created this Excel, and hopefully everything came out alright. So there you go, this is how you created or how I created the kinematics 28. Thanks guys.